Hey y'all, welcome. I'm really excited to be talking to one of my friends from prison. Joy and I were incarcerated together at the Lane Murray unit. Welcome, Joy.
Hey, Marcy.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us and for taking the time. It's a really busy time for you.
Yes, yes. It
Yeah,
is.
you're you're formally incarcerated, but you own your own business now. You want to
Yes.
tell us about that?
I have a tax office that I own. I try to really, I have contractors so that when they come in, they don't have to be under, like they just under my company, just under it, but they resource and do their own thing. So they're their own bosses, they're their own managers. We just do tax prep, tax preparation, business consulting. Me, I also do insurance, health insurance with it, and I also do the credit repair with the taxes. So
That's incredible. There's nobody that hustles harder than somebody that's been in prison, I think. So we're out here making things happen. So it's really impressive. So Joy, you did some time. Where do you think exactly your story as it relates to the criminal legal system started?
Well, I'm gonna say as far as me, I think that when I really noticed that prison was not real, was I had already been there for a while. Of course I knew, but it really got real when I went to Ad Seg. That
Yeah.
was that was horrible.
So for folks that are watching or listening and they don't know what Ad Seg is, could you break it down?
Ag seg is when you're in seg. It's really supposed to be used for the purpose of dangerous inmates, gang affiliate inmates. But of course, we're in a women's unit, so there's not really any gang problems. There are some dangerous women, but not really dangerous like that. More so in the relationships and anything that's pertaining to the dynamics of a relationship, cheating or so forth. That's when the danger comes in. But just regular everyday danger, there really was none. So a lot of women you manipulated to get down there for different reasons, to get to different units, to go to different places. Me, I ain't gonna lie, I just was over prison. I had pretty much every job. And when Lieutenant Warren left, I was like, yeah, I'm not going back to the whole squad ever again. I might as well just go lay down and get my trades brought to me every day. So I was like one of the ones, there's very few of us that are down there that it doesn't break them, because you have to be really, really strong to sit in a cell 23 hours a day. I have to get naked to go to the rec cage if they have rec. You don't get to watch TV. You have to go to visitation, cuffed up, shackled up. They close the whole street down for you to walk down the street. Sometimes you might get cold water, you might not. You might get panties, you might get toilet paper, you might not. You might get pads, you might not. You might get a cold tray, you might get a tray with a full meal, you might get a tray with just odds and ends that was left. It's just it's nasty down there. It's a nasty place, and I really feel for a lot of women that have had to experience that, and a lot of women that are currently experiencing it, because I'm still in contact with women that are down there, and it's gotten worse. When I thought that it couldn't get any worse, it's gotten worse. Like I had to tell my family, like, readjusting. It was like, I'm not institutionalized. It's just that readjusting, because I've never seen as many dead bodies as I've seen in my 37 years of living in the world that I seen down there. Like, I knew suicide was something, but that was from watching 2020 People magazine, not in my everyday living, or just hearing it like in around in areas that I be in. I in my schools, and I've never heard it, and I've been privy to like large groups of different people, and it just never was like as prevalent as it was down in prison, to where girls were literally killing themselves. Like, it was breaking them to kill themselves, or how they allowed a relationship to be manipulated so much to where they thought that it was okay to kill themselves. And then the disrespect for how the body is transported from Ag Seg, and Ag Seg is all the way at the back of the unit. So just imagine somebody having your lover on a gurney with a sheet barely over of it, or arm hanging out or something, and pushing it all the way down the unit, and everybody looking out the window, and then people screaming from the other cell to the next building to let them know, oh, that was such and such, she killed herself. Oh, Like, just imagine that. Or before I ever even went to Ad Seg, I worked down there. So my first experience encounter with it was a girl I used to always talk to her all the time, and just out of respect for her family and everybody, I won't say her name. I used to talk to her all the time because you go down there, you might be selling little bags of coffee or taking them little razors or stuff like that, because that is something that is a privilege to them down there. They don't get that often. So we took it down there, and we stamps was our money down there. So we would sell it to them, sell them stuff, and we would that traffic and trade. That was our import and export or whatever for prison. And I used to talk to her all the time, and she used to always have like all the pills because girls would save their pills and stack up on them to, that was their coping mechanism down there. That's how some people coped. So one day I went by there and I seen her, and she was sitting in the bed, and she had her headphones on, and the windows, it's the top window, the bottom window, and then it's the bunk. And she was sitting there, and she was like this, and she had the headphones on, but she like I couldn't really see because she had her jacket in the window, so it was dark. But I seen her, but I could hear the music loud with the headphones on. And then I was looking, and then I had hit the thing like to let her know I'm there, and then I went around the road, and then I came back, and she didn't. So I was like, okay, I can't be over here long, so I left. So Miss Willoughby ended up going back through there, and when Miss Willoughby went through there, I heard her scream, and you could see her take off running. And when she took off running, I could hear all the chatter on the radios where they was calling in the codes, and then they came in, and she had just been sitting there, and she was dead, just sitting there up with her headphones on.
I can imagine having to see that and witness that as a staff member or an incarcerated person. I can imagine that that was very traumatic, especially someone that you interacted with regularly. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that and that you had to witness that. Can we talk about the staff's response after Miss Willoughby? Like, how did they react? Were they surprised? Are they desensitized? Are they
They're
compassionate?
they're desensitized. Like it happens so much, and you know how it is sometimes when they be like, oh, you cry wolf for so long that when you're finally serious that nobody wants to believe you. So like sometimes they do it so much, they do it so much that they don't want to believe them. So then it might be like 4 or 5 girls on B pod doing it right now, and then it might be this girl on C pod. She's really serious, but then it's like because they've been playing so much, they don't even want to deal with this. It's just like, oh, the hell with her, So they came. Some of them ran, some of them, and they just walked up. The nurses came. They did what they saw what they could see, did what they did, and of course, they got to keep performing CPR until the fire department get there and all that. And they went through the whole little ramifications, chest pumping, whatever, then switched out to another officer until everybody got there, the fire truck and all that. And then, pronounced her. Of course, they don't pronounce them dead on the unit. When it comes on the paper, it says they were pronounced dead off the unit. And then they just leave them there, and they have an officer stationed outside the door, and the body is just in there. And we had to go serve child. Nobody really wanted to eat because it's a body right here. And everybody knows how long it takes the morgue to come pick up a body. So just imagine that body just there, and we serving child.
Like nothing happened. Like nothing
Like
happened.
they don't have counselors that come through there and try to talk to people because they're in these cells. So they're in these cells. So it's 4 blocks in one cell. So that's one vent is 4 cells. So that's a family in that vent at that point. Some people fight and argue, get into it, but if they've been in that vent for a while, they have already formed some type of bond, some type of family in that bond, in that vent. And I just feel like, why wouldn't y'all come talk? But then it's like hell down there. Like it's hell. Like not even to speak on like doing sexual favors for toilet paper or sexual favors to get a shower because the officer's supposed to knock on the door and let you know, ask you, do you want a shower? And they don't, or they just didn't come in there at all, or they sped by and didn't announce that they were in the pod, or and officers over there like, oh well, let me see a titty or do this or do that, and I'll shower you, or just little stuff, or can you go get me some tissue, or I'm on my cycle, can I get an extra roll of tissue because it's tissue for it's 1 roll this week, and you're like, oh well, show me this or do this, or just to get some tissue, and it's like it's free. Why shouldn't I be able to get it? Why I gotta do all that to get it though?
So you're locked behind a door in a room at complete mercy of the staff members for literally everything: food, tissue, feminine hygiene products, soap. And I've heard these stories. So my experience is very limited with administrative segregation, which, guys, that's solitary confinement. No matter what kind of word or term you put on it, it's you alone in a cell in a
Yes.
concrete box, and that it's solitary confinement, and it's a form of torture. It's inhumane, and it's scary the way that our state overuses solitary confinement.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
they do.
these yeah, these stories that I'm hearing, about officers making women do things in return, are not new. Those are not new stories. We hear that all the time. Did you personally experience any of that, where you had to make a decision, and you don't even have to tell us what that decision was, but were you approached by staff members while you were
Oh,
down there?
I have, but I'm very assertive, so I kind of like already like once I let it be known, like, hey, like, bluntly, like, hey, bitch, don't play with me like that. Like, I'm not one of them, you know. And it's like, hey, but it turned into like, oh yeah, so I be seeing you over there, and I saw y'all, so don't let me get 2 rolls of tissue this week. Yeah, so since you approach me in that manner, and I know that's how you get down, so see, I'm a blackmail you now. Oh, oh, that's your girlfriend? You be sending money to her mama? Okay, yeah. Let me take this whole bag over there to the whole another pod. Because it's like you're there. So it's like if you paying attention to everything, if nobody is housed less than a year. So at that point, if you're savvy, if you're in your right state of mind, you can call on to everybody's voice. You know who whistle belong to who. You know who go with who, what's going on. You know sign language because you can read signs. So you can sit in the back of your cell and just chill and be knowing everything that's going on down there. It's like a big old family. And let's not say when they go to war, they beating on the door, screaming and hollering and yelling day in and day out, and they arguing and going to war, and you can't walk through there because if you into it with them, they gonna dash you with piss or dash you with shit or spit on you, or the officers of sometimes don't like you and walk you through there on purpose so that they could do these things to you. Like I haven't been like nobody spit on me or none of that, but like I've seen it. Like that's the thing that's what it is down there. It's like the Bill of Rights. Oh, you disrespected me, I'ma spit on you. Oh, you did this to me. Oh, I'ma throw piss on you. Oh, you did this to me, and it gets to the point to where they'll wait days. They'll keep bottles of piss or shit in a bottle and have it hanging outside their window and wait days and days until they finally can catch that person coming through. So just imagine how funky that is.
We talk about there being a different set of rules, like a societal rules or community rules inside the penitentiary. And then once you get into solitary confinement and in that building, that takes it to a whole new level.
Yes, every custody level has a different set of rules. Like I've done every custody level. I did every one of them, not because I was a rowdy inmate. It was just like, oh, okay, well, I'm tired of this. They keep denying me parole because they saying I'm manipulating the system because I'm down here and I ain't getting no cases. I'm manipulating the system. So I can't go home. So just let me go ahead on and catch a few cases because it seemed like everybody who got cases are going home. Let me catch a few cases because I'm tired of working for free. Especially if you've been there as long as I was, it's like, oh, I didn't had all the jobs. And then if you got an education, they really not gonna educate you anymore down there. You're not even eligible to get an education, period. They want the people that are mediocrely educated so that they can take something and use that because I feel like why does she 23, she been here for 15 years and she don't have a GD? I feel like that should be demanded, but they'll throw you on whole squad with a broke arm, with a bloody nose. They'll have you out there on whole squad having to dig in the ground and piss out there and have your friends surround you so that you can change your tampon or they'll have you out there. But when it comes to the things that will sustain you, they don't have it. They don't have it. And their main thing is, oh well, you shouldn't have got locked up. There's a lot of innocent people down there. And there's a lot of people that were in situations where something just happened. So what if something just happened to a lot of them? And then, we were down there. We seen how Mr. Bassetti was able to parade himself back and forth all over the unit, get caught with girls in the closets, having sex with her, and getting caught, getting oral, and this, that, and getting walked off the unit because they're so short staffed. And he committed to the job, he'll never go home. He gets to come back, and she gets sent off and gets G4, but he's there. Or how can we explain how we in Ad Seg, we lock down 24 hours out the 23, really 24 hours out the day, because some days, sometimes we don't even get to come out and shower for 5 or 6 days because they're so short staffed, so they say. And we get a lockdown, and then they get caught with a dildo from the world. How you get we locked down? Where they come from? Because we sure can't bring you from visitation because we got to strip her naked in there before we could even come out the cage. So how is it a dildo down here? Not one that they made out the gloves, one that came from a sex store out here in the world. How that came in here? But then we won't get the shower for a week because of that. Instead of rotating your officers around from down here, we don't get the shower.
They're using hygiene and going against policy as punishment.
Even your commissary, you can order your commissary when you're down there. You can order your commissary. The commissary lady can come down there, and for instance, you've been and got into it with the officer. The officer been and said something to the commissary lady, and then everybody got a box in front of their door. You know your money there. Your box ain't there, and then but the officer that told, or you and the officer had a disagreement, or you grieved the officer, and then every time she on the shift, or that's her rotation, you don't get to eat, or you don't get to shower, or you don't get to go to reg, or when she come through there, she not gonna give you your pads, or you're not gonna get your mail, or little stupid stuff they do. They do a lot of stuff down there because it's like, what can we do when we come out the cell? We're gonna be locked down anyway. So that's why a lot of the girls end up, jumping out their cuffs and doing the stuff that they do, because it's like they're in a cell and this officer is taunting them and taunting them and taunting them. And then you can't get your food, you can't get your packages, you can't go to visitation, you can't do this, you can't do that. And then when they finally come out the cell, what would you do? You keep an animal caged up long enough, when it finally come out, what is it gonna do? Especially if the one bringing it out is the one that's been taunting them for 2 weeks, and just because your partner that normally worked this shift with you ain't here, so they didn't put somebody over here, you're gonna do your job. And then when I finally come out,
Yeah. Then
but
you're
the
going to
camera caught
explode.
that. The camera caught that, but the camera didn't catch you coming passing me up.
Let's talk about that. I did a video recently. A mother contacted me and said they haven't fed my son in 4 days. He's in solitary confinement. He got into it with an officer, and they're not feeding him. They're starving him out. Now they have tablets in Ad Seg now, so he was able to
Mhm.
communicate with his mom, and he would be on the phone with her at chow time and watch him. And it got to where the men around him started getting riled up. They started jacking their tray slots, like they're trying to get this man fed. So I did a video, and I had comments on there that were just complete disbelief, complete acting like I was lying and this gentleman was lying. So tell us about that, about how they use food for punishment.
Oh, if you grieve them, because during the grievance process, they are entitled to know who is grieving them. So if they know that you grieve them, or you had your family call down there, or you've been telling on them, or y'all just had any type of words, or they just felt like that in any way you have been a nuisance to them, you're not gonna eat. They'll just pass you up
They
and
just
pass
walk right by your cell,
right by, pass you up.
and you're standing there watching the food walk
And
by.
they work on 4 off. So for 4 days, they'll be like, yeah, for 4 days, you're not gonna eat. So for them 4 days, and then sometime if they work a double, they keep them in the same pod that they were in. So they'll work the morning shift and the night shift. You just wouldn't eat all day for those 4 days. And then if it's too bad, when they come back on the next shift, it'll be the same thing. They'll be like, whenever I work over here, you can't eat, or whenever I work over here, you can't go to rec, or whenever I work over here, don't worry about commissary.
Very unprofessional, very much against policy. Let's talk about the way community comes together, because you had used the word family for the ladies that were housed down there together. And that's one thing, we did have to use each other to survive the
Yes.
Texas prison system. So if someone's not eating, are you guys coming together to help her get food?
Yeah, we'll like everybody in the van, or just you be like, hey, just get, here goes some soups, or here go this, here go that, give them some food. Or if we not eating our tray, then we'll give them the trays or whatever, and then we'll just eat our commissary or whatever we have. But we always know when it's about to be locked down. We always know stuff like that. The only thing that really surprised us was COVID. We was hit by surprise with that. But other than that, we always start stacking up on soup, start stacking up on soap. So it's always gonna be somebody with a million bars of soap. It's gonna be somebody with 1,000 noodles. It's gonna be somebody with 900 Mac BG, or somebody gonna be selling something. There's gonna be somebody down there selling candy patties, somebody selling cookies, somebody selling plates. We gonna make sure, even if half the pod is beefing with us, we gonna make sure, even if we gotta fish it all the way around the building, we gonna make sure somebody eat.
And just for clarification, we're talking about a building 2 stories full of cells, single man cells, concrete cells, and these ladies are still able to communicate with each other and figure out how to be community even inside of that situation. Joy, can you talk about what you meant when you said fish around the building?
Oh, well, fishing is like fishing. We would take the sheets and tear all the edges off of them and make them strips. And then we'll get like shoestrings, like anything that was sturdy, we would take it and make it like a line. And we would get it really, really long, and we would put like a water bottle on it so that it can anchor in, so that you can throw it out the window and you can make it go fly further out. So we would lay in this on our bunk, and then we would lay there and lean back, put our arm out the window, and we would have it, and then we would just throw it. And then if depending on how close the person was, they line can connect to it, and then it'll pick it up, drag it in, and then connect them, and then we will put the bags on there and just like fish all the way around the building. But we would always have help with other people on the back walls and stuff like that, especially if we was going from one building to the next. That took quite a few people to get it. If we wanted it, we was gonna get it. There was no way around it that we were not gonna get it. That's why it'd be like, it's pointless to have lockdown, because if we want to get away with it, we're gonna get away with it. Because if you start on two roll, while you on two roll doing them, they dropping all their stuff down to us on one roll. And when you get on one roll, we running everything back upstairs to two roll. So it just be like, y'all just doing stuff to be doing it.
I often thought that while I was in there, and I remember maybe my 2nd or 3rd lockdown in prison, which lockdown is where they do an extensive search of the unit and every individual's property. But I remember telling my dad, if I had a 22, I could have gotten it through this lockdown. Like this, it's really just for show. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of things in there are really just for show, very ineffective in accomplishing whatever they think that they're
Now,
accomplishing for
lockdown,
sure.
they do have their ones where they gonna tear their cell down to smithereens, and then the rest of everybody else, they just gonna breeze through. But the ones that's been giving them problems, yeah, they gonna tear your cell down, take everything. It's gonna be a problem with everything. You're gonna end up with a case. But other than that, it's a breeze. And then it's whole squad that come through there, and them are the, what do we call them? Them are the black knights of the unit, whole squad, field squad. Them are the renegades. Yeah, the
Field
enfor-
squad bosses.
the enforcers. If we don't respect nobody else, we don't respect them.
During lockdown while it's solitary confinement, they're going to search everyone's cell. I experienced one lockdown while I was doing a 15, actually. Um, so can you talk about what they dress you in and how that process works with you leaving your cell and sitting in the boss chair? Is it still like that, or that was
Mhm.
probably okay?
Got to put your gown on. So of course they're gonna undress you. You got to have everything out. Like to make it the process fast. Just basically have all the sheets off, all your blankets off, all your clothing laid out. Have your name in your shirts, your bras, your panties. Have all that laid out. Have your hygienes just spread everywhere. Have the food out so they can go through that. Look what they got. Look at the pictures. Have your name on the back of them. They're gonna take you out in a gown. You gotta have on panties, bras, and your shoes, and then they're gonna back you out. Of course, you gotta have your gown on backwards so they won't be able to. The males won't be able to see your cleavage. They're gonna back you out. They're gonna walk you around the cages, put you in a chair, and scan you to see if you have any metal objects on you. And then they're gonna bring you back around, and you're gonna be waiting until they finish with your cell, and they're gonna put you back in there, and you gotta go back in there put it back together because they done took something that you use for your livelihood, like we save chips bags to cook with. So they done took all your chip bags, or they done took a bowl because you've been had the bowl. They done sold the bowl ever since 1960, and everybody done passed it along. And now the bowl, it's a heirloom, and it's worth $10 now. Or they done took your bobby pin. You've been having this bobby pin for 8 years. It don't even have no color on it. It's just rusted, and you want your bobby pin, so you in there acting up, cutting up, doing all that. Never mind the fact that you got 20 razors and you only supposed to have one, and they didn't take that, but they didn't took this bobby pin, so you mad. Or they didn't came in here and took all your eyeshadow that you had in your little sweetener packs. It'd be the little small things that you be mad about. It'd be like, why you take my ice cream thing? I be cooking in there. Like, what you know? And they be like, it's a nuisance. You can't have it. You can't, you know. It just be like, they don't even give us nothing to clean up with. They supposed to come through there and give us bleach, chemicals, and all that. You gonna use your shampoo. You gonna get on your knees and you gonna wet the floor. And you gonna make sure your toilet clean. And you gonna keep your toilet scrubbed. And you survive. And it's just another world. It's just another element. We call it the dungeon.
Did you ever witness anybody having struggles with wearing a gown? Because it is a gown. It's a dress. It's a gown that you have to put on. And so for gender expansive individuals, for trans people, that can be really triggering. It can be harmful to their mental health. Did you ever witness any of that?
Yes, of course, the studs, the more dominant females, they never wanted to wear that gown because you really, per rules, you have to have your gown on when you come out your cell, going to your shower and so forth. So there was certain officers that would enforce it. It was only when certain ranks were in the building, or if it was certain things going on, certain divisions on the unit, they would enforce it. So it's like, oh, ACA here. So when ACA here, you know, if you got to come out to shower, of course, they're going to knock on the door. They're going to do everything they're supposed to do. Come get a plate. Come eat. Come eat. The food going to be piping hot. It's going to be steaming. The juice going to be cold. Everybody has toilet paper. It's going to be so clean down there. And then they'll come and then they'll make them put their gowns on because you're supposed to have your gown on to eat. And with the trans and so forth, some officers would like make provisions for them and be like, you can have your gown on, but they could put their shorts on. So they would put the gown on, pull it up, and then have the shorts on. So it was like a shirt and pants that they had on.
That was nice that some of the officers helped them feel a little bit more comfortable with that. So that was good. I was curious about that. I'm wondering about rec. You had mentioned earlier that sometimes they had rec, and then you said rec cage. So can you tell us what you mean by rec cage?
Oh, they're individually caged. It's like 3 cages on one side and there's three on the other side, and they're the metal toilets that they have down there in prison, and they're probably corroded out, nasty swamp water in them. And they take you out there. You got to strip, get butt naked, and you just be in a cage. So a lot of people be in a cage, signing to their friends on the wall, or signing to their girlfriends, or the girlfriends will get in the cage with each other, and they'll be next door to each other so that they can talk through the cages and drink coffee, like little dates. That's basically, it was like play dates, but you in a cage like little kennels. And it just depends. They might have rec, like right now, the choice that they haven't had rec like all month. They haven't even had any toilet paper. Like they're down there using gowns and stuff to sop themselves up.
I'm hearing that too from not just Detroit, who you're in correspondence with, but other ladies that are housed on the Dr. Lane Murray unit talking about the no recreation. That means the little bit of fresh air or possibility for fresh air that they could get. And frankly, even the walk to the recreation area is something because you are confined to this little cell. So that they're not getting that. I just find it so interesting though that it's you strip down completely naked, get back dressed for the officer, and then you're handcuffed and walked. You're also, if you had to go to a medical appointment or a dental appointment, something of that nature, visitation, you talked about they locked the unit down. They shut the unit down for you to walk. So I remember that. Can you kind of walk us through not only just the procedure, but how that makes you feel walking down the street like that?
It's embarrassing. It's like the walk of shame. They used to like walking the Green Mile, like walking a dead man to the chamber. them getting on there, and you know, as soon as you come out the door, they got the batons, and it's one on one side and one. And if you another one of them that really be acting up, they got a sergeant behind you, and then you walking down the street and they on the radio, clear the streets and this and the third. So they putting everybody back in a child hall, or they making people turn around that's at medical, or people coming out the building, they making them go back in, and you just walking down the street and it's just like deserted out. It's like, and you got to walk down there to visitation or something like that, and it's just like, really? And then don't even get in there, and then you got to keep re-explaining why you look like Marilyn Manson chained up like this to your parents, because they don't understand why you still down here, or what is going on, or what made you even want to live like this. Like, some people don't even understand. It was just like, for me, it was just like, I'd rather be by myself at this point. Like, I've seen it all. I'm tired of stopped up toilets. I'm just tired of everything. I'm tired of not knowing who gonna come live with me. If she gonna be, I look up and she gonna be up there trying to kill herself. You know, I've experienced it all. I'm tired of having to tell them, hey, you can't come back after child. You know, I'm gonna have your thing sitting here. You got to find somewhere to go. It's just the not knowing of who gonna be a roommate. You know, and that was just like, I was tired of it. So I was like, let me go head on and chill for a while. So I manipulated the system. I just wrote a couple of escape letters. Hey, next time y'all take me to medical, I'm gonna take off running. I had to write like 4 of them, and then finally they was like, "All right, Hauser."
What custody level were you when that happened?
I was G5. Well, I was G4, and when I was G4, I was getting into a Machado down there, G4, so he kept running up in my cell. So he kept catching me, writing me up for all kinds of stuff. I had got wrote up for a needle I had been having for like 6 years. He wrote me up. He found that I had it in another band of my bra. He went through every little thing. Then I had got wrote up for like some water bottles, and then having Effordent because I was selling Effordent at the time. Then he had wrote me up because I had took my shorts and altered them, so I had me some little hot shorts for the summertime. He had, you know, footies, making footies, you know, just in there, just doing all kind of stuff, and I just was getting them cases. So once I had got I was like, well, if I make parole, I'm gonna go ahead on and go up. When they gave me a set off that day, as soon as they gave me a set off, I came back. I had a fight, and then I was trying to go G4, G5. So when I was down there in Seg, they kept on sending me. I kept writing letters and getting case charges and stuff, or whatever, little cases, so that the cases, because I didn't have a bad case history, to build a case history so that way they can go ahead on and shoot me off. Then when they shot me off to Riverside, and then when I was on Riverside, I was there for a while, and Riverside was worse. You didn't get nothing but 2 radio stations. You had to fish in the walls, like, so the how we talked through the vent, we had to fish through there. So imagine fishing through there. So, but the vents were a little bit more water, so you had to take the rice out the rice bag and put it in a chip bag and fold like 4 or 5 of them up to get 1 bag of rice through there. You had to put like 3 or 4 soaps where you could put everything in a bag and send it around the building. So I went through that, and it was just, over there, you never came out. So I was like, yeah, I'm tired of being here. Let me go lay down, go back where I'm used to, where I can just Cadillac, get over here on Lane Murray. Because they only had 2 options of where you can go when you house. You can only go Lane Murray, or you can only go to Mountain View. And right at that time, Mountain View, Ad Seg, the roofs caved in and it flooded. So they were sending them everywhere, emergency housing them. So I was like, okay, I ain't got nowhere to go but to Lane Murray. So I tried hard for like 2 weeks, 2 long weeks. And then finally they was like, all right, let her go. I was telling them everything. When I would go to Seg, they were like, how you catching all these cases and you getting tennis shoes? Because when you G5, you can have a roommate. So I would just put money on my roommate books and then let my roommate buy my stuff. And I would be like, oh, well, you know, Miss Navarro, the officer that I had was into it with all the time. I was like, Miss Navarro bought them for me. And they would be like, and I would be like, and you know, everything was recorded. So they'll try to turn the recording off. I'll be like, no, I'm telling the truth. The officer bought them for me and gave them to me. The officers, they petty, and they're very vindictive and grudgeful, and they're very malice. They do a lot of malice stuff down there. And then the ones that are kind hearted that do come in, they end up flipping them, because it's just like they go against them so hard. So they like, just don't be doing the right thing by them. Don't be doing the right thing by them, to the point to where the officer gets so timid they either quit, or they just get to the point to where they just don't even want to talk no more. They just do what they supposed to do and keep it pushing or whatever. So yeah, you got to be able to catch them whenever you can. So I'd be like, okay, you've been messing with me all week. All right, I ain't tripping. I really don't even want to trade. but you passing me up on the tray. But you know we got to go to court next week. So as soon as we go to court, as soon as they turn the recorder on, I get to run in my mouth. And the only thing I'm supposed to be saying, are you pleading guilty or not guilty? Yes, but Miss Machado ain't been feeding me for 4 days because they can't erase the recording. So I would just run it all down. That's why they say, hey, bring me to court. They be like, Brimby, don't start. Or I'll get in there and be like, yes, because Miss Mary been on the side of me and she been having seizures and they won't take her to medical and she been over there laying on the ground. They won't give her no cold water. They won't even give her medicine. Like, you got to catch them. You got to be able to. Sometimes I have my little notebook and I have everything. Like, I got my little notebook over there of all the stuff that Detroit then wanted me to tell you.
I mean, you're a bit of a disruptor, right? When you know things are happening that are out of your control to take care of right at the moment, you kind of look for the opportunity to use your voice. And in there, that's really challenging. So like major kudos for you to be able to find a way to get some of that information out for sure. You mentioned a neighbor having seizures and not getting medical care. Can we talk about medical care in solitary confinement and how that works and what maybe anything that you saw down there?
Because, medical, there, every building has, every custody level has their own medical. So Ad Seg has a medical department in there. And then G4 has a medical office in there. The people don't be there. They're supposed to be there their whole shift, but of course they all be congregated up in the main nurses station. So when they have emergencies, the officer's supposed to do a walk. I think was like every 30 minutes, every 15 minutes, or something like that. They don't do a walk. So you'll have somebody and they'll be like, I don't feel good. And then you'll have to have the whole unit beating and screaming and all that because the officer's just not in the pod because it's 2,000 degrees in there. So they got to sit in the vestibule where they can get some air. And it's screaming and ruckus. And then some of them, they just don't care. So they won't get up. And then some of them will finally go ahead on and get up and come in there and see what the noise is. And then when they come back there, they got to call medical. And then medical got to take their sweet time to come down. And then when they come, it's just like, and then it had started getting to the point to where medical had started making it to where they had to go through a whole chain of command. Okay, so when you come, tell the officer got to call the sergeant. Then the sergeant got to call the lieutenant. Then the lieutenant got to call medical. And then medical got to be like, oh, look in the file and be like, oh, well, Tony don't have seizures. Okay, just because she's not listed for having seizures doesn't mean that she ain't took nobody pills down here and had a seizure, or it's not too hot down here and she ain't had a seizure. Like, still come and see. And then they'll send the officer back over there, and literally the person that be laying on the ground, and not for granted, some people will be lying and be like they having a seizure and laying on the ground and flopping, but still go see. Why would you want that on your conscience that could have been a potential medical issue? Or they'll be like, oh, well, medical said that they ain't got nobody to come see you, and you'll be like, really? Or they'll come back to the door, and I've seen them come back to the door and they be like, oh, Thomas, Nurse Benavidez said that you don't have seizures. Yeah.
You said that sometimes incarcerated women will fake an illness or fake a seizure or some dramatic thing. And I just wanted to kind of touch on the mental health of women that are housed in solitary confinement, especially, and how we would have to go to great lengths sometimes just to meet our basic needs. Can you touch a little bit about that?
Well, mentally, there are a lot of women down there that are, it ain't even no other way to say it, but like completely cuckoo. Like, they're down there, they're eating feces, they're feeding their lovers shit tacos because their lover has been disrespectful, or you know how they, in their relationships, they ignore you. So when they ignore you, that's like driving you. That's what they call it. They're driving you. So you're trying to talk to them and they want, and they be like, oh, well, I'm gonna feed you. And then you've been and ate a shit taco and your girlfriend been ignored, or they down there and their lovers. And when they go to wreck, they got a blade so they can cut themselves and swap blood, or they, they went as far as even taking a tampon and sucking a tampon, a bloody tampon out of their woman who's on their cycle. They'll eat her tampon, like suck her tampon, like put it in their mouth and then take the tampon and just throw it on the ground or put it in the trash or flush it. They drink each other's pee. Those are forms of love. Those are forms of love. They're really rituals. They do that.
And that just kind of speaks a little bit to how being caged like that can change something a way that you think, because a lot of those women would never even think about anything like that before they entered that environment where now it's a different set of rules and guidelines, and not that everybody in the solitary confinement does that, but enough do that it's almost acceptable, that it's just
Hmm.
part of life.
Overlooked. It's like you know how like up there they're kissing, hugging, and then you might be sitting in the day room and somebody might be kissing or fondling each other. That's just what it is down there. It's just like, oh, okay, well then that's that's how they are. And be like, what is that? You be like, oh yeah, that's piss.
So you talked about you have a strong mind. You're a very strong-minded individual. You knew going into solitary confinement that that was something that you mentally would be able to survive. You were prepared for that. There are lots of women that don't survive solitary
Mhm.
confinement. You touched on the high suicide rates and the things that you witnessed. Me being in general population, I didn't have to witness that as frequently, but I know 11 people that took their own lives during my entire incarceration, 2 staff members, 9
Mhm.
incarcerated women. All of the 9 women were housed were in solitary confinement when they took their own lives. All 100% of the women that I know that lost their life due to their own hand while incarcerated were in
Because
solitary.
because say you get in an event and it's some girls that you don't get along with. They'll be in that event and they will drive you crazy. They'll be yelling, they'll be screaming, they'll be cussing you out, they'll be banging on the walls, they will drive you crazy. And those girls will do anything to get from right there because when you in a cell, you in that cell. That's basically your cell for like 6 or 8 months, and then they'll come and swap the whole building around or whatever, just to mix it up so you kind of won't get stuck in one cell like the El Chapo thing and be made a tunnel and be trying to, you know, because they do your cell gets searched every 4 days. They're gonna search your cell anyway. So it's just like it's a whole nother world. It's a whole nother world. It's just like when commissary comes and be like, oh well, one roll only got the jalapeno chips. Oh well, I got barbecue chips on this roll. Okay, well when this comes, we're gonna switch this around. Or during the week I had borrowed some stuff from such and such, or you borrowed some stuff from me, and it waited until commissary because I did 2 for 1 or 3 for 1. So when commissary come, I gotta get all my stuff in because I done loaned so many people stuff. If you got people down there, I just tell people like check on your people, man. Check on your people because if you don't have nobody on the outside advocate for you, it ain't no telling what they doing on the inside. Ain't no telling what they doing. And I'm talking about they beating them up, they starving them, they choking them, blacking their eyes, having sex with them, impregnating them, giving them diseases. They down there. They doing it. Like girls are down there doing anything for extravagant sexual favors for something so small as wiggly spearmint bubblegum.
If this triggers you and you don't wanna answer, don't, but have you ever witnessed an incarcerated woman, while she was restrained with handcuffs, get physically assaulted by staff?
Yeah, on several occasions. That's the thing, especially if they know that it's one of the ones that can fight back and fight hard and is known for fighting. Yeah, they gonna cuff her, and when they cuff her, then they gonna beat her up. They gonna kick her. They gonna punch her. They gonna do all of that. And then down there on the units, like the staff members that are more dominant, the males, like the studs and stuff that are on the unit. They hate the other studs, the inmate studs. So when it's stud interactions, it could be a lieutenant and you'll be like, why are you acting like that? I'm an inmate. Like, and they'll be into it, literally into it with the studs. Into it with the studs. And it's like, you go home every day. Why you into it? Well, she a stud. Like she gotta iron her clothes with water and with a hot pot lid. And you go home every day and you into it with her, you making her life hell every day.
What does life after solitary confinement look like for you?
I ain't gonna lie, I still have a social anxiety. I do better like virtually with a lot of stuff, or if I do, it has to be settings that I have already prepared myself for to do it. Like probably like my first year, I was like, I did a lot of isolation. But during that time, I guess because when I went to Ad Seg, I had a game plan already. So was there. I had like I had all the books that I was sure that I was gonna want to read. Of course, I had my little hood books for entertainment, but then I had like I already knew I wanted to do taxes. I knew I wanted to do this. I know I want to do X, Y, and Z. I know I want to get in trucking. I know I wanted to do this. I know I want to do that. I wanted to buy some land. And it was just like little stuff. So when the magazines was coming, matter of fact, hold on. So, like during the holidays, they would give us like little stuff, and I would buy extra ones. So like I have all my stuff, like I would just be writing all the stuff in here, like resources that I wanted to look up, or if it was stuff that I seen in a magazine that I wanted, I would just keep up with it. If it little like just different little stuff that I wanted to do, like all the stuff like that was pertaining to taxes. I was just saying like, oh, well, I need to go here first and start this. I need to get my P10. Then after that, I need to, I just write down little stuff. And don't get me wrong, I jacked off sometime down there. When I say jacked off, I mean like I was down there just because it gets boring. I want entertainment. So sometime I would, go off and on in a relationship with a girl that I was with down there. And we would go off and on in a relationship, get in, get out of a relationship. Or sometimes I would just be down there and I'll just be doing my own little thing and I'll be studying. Then I start trying to like heal myself, heal past traumas and stuff like that. So I was doing that. I had to do a lot of coddling of myself there to heal the inner child in me that had traumas. And that's what I use my time for. That's what I used a lot of my time for. So that's why when I came home, I was able to be like, okay, this is the direction that I want to go. Or this is what I want to do, or this is what I'm going to try to do, and this is how I'm going to do it, and this is how I want it done.
And you had books to help you guide that healing? It was a lot of self-reflection, or did you have any outside help with that?
I had books, like my family would send me books. Of course, when you being Ad Seg, your family like, yeah, I'm not with it because now I got to start back writing. I got to start back JPen. So they really be putting you on hold. So you really do a lot of ordering of your own stuff or whatever. Then Ad Seg had got that mental health program down there. So you would able to they had built the classroom down there. They had put air conditioning. So of course I wanted to get air conditioning. So I had gotten the mental health program because over there you would go to rec. And when you went to rec, it would be 4 people can be in a cage. And then y'all could have a TV in there so you could watch TV. You come out and go to the classroom. So of course that was a way to get up and get dressed every day and go to class every day. And you in there with other people that was in Ad Seg. You got to go see your counselor, which you got to sit in like a little confession booth and you chained up and chained in there and you talking to your counselor and y'all just having like therapy, but you had to want to do it. So sometime I would go in there and one of the counselors that was there, he worked at another unit I was at, and me and him was in the kitchen and I was his cook. So when he come, I would be like, we would be talking about stuff and he was like, he would come in and we'll talk a little bit about the therapy, whatever issues it is that I was having. And then after that, I would be like, okay, well, what do I do when he was like, okay, you need to go on Robinhood and then go to Fidelity Mutual. And then you need to get you a stocks and bonds. And then you need to look at RAs. And like, that's the type of stuff that I was into. Like, they know that I'm going to pick their brains. Like, they already know, like, if you come in, if I come in here, you're going to counsel me and I'm going to counsel you at the same time. And they, like, I've had counselors that'll come and then I will be talking to them and then I'll be like, yeah, you ain't never went through nothing in life. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to nobody that's just telling me what the book said. I want to talk to somebody who then got cheated on, I want to talk to somebody who got some real life issues that then went on, because if you ain't been through nothing, you couldn't possibly even begin to try to help me or talk to me about anything. And if you just started working here, I don't want to talk to you because you ain't seen nobody get killed. You ain't seen nobody cut themselves. You ain't seen nobody have to use rolls and rolls of toilet paper for pads. You ain't seen us get starved out. You ain't seen us get served the same meal. You ain't seen us be down here. Never knew that you could be in prison and you don't have no electricity. I would be like, well, we would have electricity for days. And it was always in the summertime. So that's why when the winter thing hit and it did the grid and they turned the power off, it was like, oh, well, we used to that. We already freezing. We've been freezing. When it's hot, it's hot. When it's cold. And it was just like, oh, well, we was already used to that. But the only thing that was just like, oh, well, the officers spent the night here because they was the ones getting the hot tea, the hot coffee there and all that. Like, we were just getting like whatever was. At that point, they really should have just closed the whole unit down, but they didn't. They don't. It's just whatever. It's whatever people make of it. It really is, because there is no rehabilitation down there. You're not forced to do anything. It's all free will. So if you want to go to AA, it's up to you to go to AA. If you want to get a GED, it's up to you to get a GED, because they'll put you in a GED class and you can just go and just be attending GED class for like 8 or 9 years and never get a GED and just be attending. And the only reason why you attend is because GED is in the morning, so they can't put you on whole squad. So you're going to go and sit in the class for 8 or 9 years and never get a GED. It's not mandatory. It's just like, it's up to you. If whatever you make it, whatever you make it, whatever you make it down there, you gotta educate yourself for one, or be willing to educate yourself, because even to get help from medical, you got to make sure you know what they diagnosing you with. So you got to make sure you got somebody on the outside, or you want to go to the library so that you can look up these symptoms that they telling you, so that you will know what they saying, because they've been told you you had something and then you don't even know what's going on. Or let's not even talk about getting a pap smear and they just sent you all the way out here to Texas City because they telling you that you done came back with cancerous cells, and then when you get down there and they be like, oh well, we had mixed the swabs up. How you mix the swabs up? It's only one person at a time coming here getting a pap. But you done made me miss my visit to come all the way down here because y'all done mixed the swabs up. Or I'm telling you, I'm having chest pain and you want to give me some for allergies.
Joy, you have given us a massive amount of insight into solitary confinement in Texas prisons, in Texas women's prisons, and we appreciate that more than you know. Anything that we didn't talk about that you want to make sure the audience knows or hears?
No, I just not really. I just check on y'all people. Just check on y'all people, because it was bad when I was there, and I came home in 2019, and I'm still in contact with women down there, and it's it's deteriorating at a rapid rate. It's just those ladies. They. I mean, I understand that going down there, but that's inhumane to be down there 9 and 10 years, to be down there 3 years, to be down there 1 year and you not strong minded, to be down there 6 months. Ad Seg, they do them so bad.